Hi, it's Lisa from Wee Willy Wonderfuls, back with video tutorial number 3. This is how to read a pattern. So I'm just going to show you the basics of how what things mean at the beginning of the pattern, how important it is to read through at the beginning. And the following videos are going to be for our bunny, but the body is a standard body. It's exactly the same body as for our elephant, Eli and Ella elephants, and also for our Teddy the bear. And we're also maybe bringing some more patterns out in the future which uses the same legs and body and arms, the same standard body shape. So this is the correct video for that. So don't worry if you're not making a bunny. We're still going to follow this exactly the same. So first things first, this is one of our pattern booklets. This is the printed copy. We also offer PDFs downloads, and if you have a download, it's exactly the same pattern, just a slightly different layout to make it easy for printing. First thing you do when you have a pattern is always have a read through the beginning to make sure you're aware of how it's written. Our patterns are all written in UYK Crochet Terms, so do bear that in mind. And it explains quite a bit at the beginning. It tells you how big your toy is going to be. Also tells you what materials you're going to need. For this one, it tells you what you need for the Alpaca bunny. Also for Arthur and Betsy and the Lollipop and a Reggie and Rosie. If you bought a kit, everything you need will be in the kit. But the idea of this is so that you can make one of the other bunnies if you want to. Or if you've just bought the pattern separately, that you know exactly what will be used. Feel free to use your own, but it just gives you a good idea. And it also tells you any of the little bits you might need. A pair of scissors is handy, and even some pins, sewing pins, just for holding it together at the end. So first things first, abbreviations. So it's going to tell you what these mean. MC is short for magic circle, and that's how we start our amigurumi. I'll just show you what the magic circle is. It's, for example, on here. That is the magic circle, so it's how we're starting our crochet. And if you can see the spirals, what we're going to do with this is work round and round and round in spirals. So the great thing with that is it means that there's very little sewing up. The legs and body are all made in one piece. The arms are made in one piece, the head, the ears, and then we just sew those parts together. If you're a knitter, you'll know what seaming is and how much sewing up there can be with one of a toy like this. There's a lot less sewing up, so that's good news. That's one of the reasons I crochet a lot more than I knit. I don't like all the sewing up at the end, so there's very little with this. So we're going to be working round and round in spirals, and we'll be placing a stitch marker so we know exactly where we are. But I'll go through all of that with you. So that's the magic circle. Our other abbreviations, DC, double crochet. Now that is the stitch that we will be using for most of the toy. So if you see DC anywhere, it's simply a double crochet stitch. DEC is just an abbreviation for decrease, which means we're going to decrease by crocheting 2 stitches together. So that's where we're reducing the number. Maybe the neck of the animal is getting smaller, so we'd be decreasing as we came up here, just to make it smaller. The next one on our abbreviations is an increase, exactly the opposite. INC stands for increase, and that is where we do 2 double crochets into 1 stitch, and that's simply to increase our stitch number. So if we were growing his tummy instead, if it was getting bigger, we'd be increasing to do that. Brackets, anything in brackets is just a way of showing you that you need to repeat the instruction inside the brackets. So for example, if you had an instruction double crochet increase times 3, you're going to do a double crochet, then an increase, a double crochet, then an increase, a double crochet, then an increase. So you're doing the instruction 3 times. And at the end of each line, it always tells us in brackets at the end how many stitches we should have. So if it says 6 at the end in brackets, then we should have 6 stitches when you finish that line. It's really important that you count the stitches at the end of each round, especially when you're learning, because it's very, very easy to go wrong when it's all new. And by counting the stitches and checking, you know that you're on the right track. Colour changing, so it tells you how to do a colour change, but we will show you that later on. Number of brackets, we've already done that, I'm ahead of myself. And it also just mentions for safety not to add anything detachable if the bunny's for a child under 3. So something like buttons, if you wanted to pop buttons down him, don't add things like that if it's going to be for a young child, just in case they pull them off and pop them in the mouth. So it's just a safety thing. And we also embroider all of our eyes for safety. You can also get safety eyes, but again, only use those for an older child. So it explains about it being written in UK Crochet Terms, and we're working in spirals, and that's it really. So it's always worth just read through all the beginning part before you start. There's nothing worse than getting started, being really keen, and then realising you've just made a big mistake because you've not read the instructions at the beginning. So in our next lesson, we're going to be starting our bunny. We're going to do a little bit of practice first, and then we'll be doing the magic circle and getting started. So I'll see you in a moment.